Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. Today, we are looking at Volume 2 of Big Finish's Second Doctor Adventures range, The Second Doctor Adventures, James Robert McCrimmon, released in July of 2023, directed by Nicholas Briggs. This set consists of 3 stories, Jamie by Mark Wright, The Green Man by Paul Verhoeven, no, not that one, and The Shroud by Bob Ayers. As always, there is a blanket spoiler warning in place because I do these unscripted, so I may possibly talk about spoilers. If you do not wish to be spoiled, then in the description box below is the link to Big Finish's website where you can purchase The Second Doctor Adventures, James Robert McCrimmon. And as you can probably still tell from the sound of my voice, I am still dealing with this cold, so I may be prone to coughing fits. We'll see. Overall thoughts, first of all, I would say objectively, I still think Beyond War Games is the better set, but I think James Robert McCrimmon is more entertaining. There's more entertainment value into it. There's more re-listenability to it. So, I think Beyond War Games is better, but I think I liked James Robert McCrimmon more. Obviously from the title of this set, the mission statement of James Robert McCrimmon is to reintroduce Jamie back into the Second Doctor Adventures range after the events of the War Games and get him into the Season 6B premise, because a lot of the Second Doctor expanded universe lore that surrounds Season 6B said that Jamie was still a companion of the Doctor. And I think Jamie does a pretty good job of that. And just to say this real quick too, in the behind the scenes, Mark Wright, who wrote it, even said he included references to a lot of that expanded Second Doctor lore, even though it was contradictory. He found fun little ways to work it in. As someone who is not familiar with the other forms of Doctor Who canon, aka books and comics, I didn't catch those references, but if you are, you might. So the premise of Jamie is that after the events of the War Games, remember in the War Games, the Time Lords put Jamie and Zoe back in their respective timelines after the events of their first adventure. So for Zoe, the Wheel in Space still happened, but she never traveled with the Doctor after that. And similarly for Jamie, the Highlander still happened, but Jamie never traveled with the Doctor after that. However, something seems to have gone wrong. Excuse me. Because Jamie is now much older, is having these nightmares. Nightmares about adventures he doesn't recall, about a mysterious man named the Doctor. Meanwhile, the Doctor finds himself in Edinburgh on a mission for the Time Lords, who are not telling him why he's here, and he needs to figure out what's going on. I don't want to give away what's going on here. I will say that basically it's the Time Lords. When they erase Jamie's memories and put him back in time, they screwed up. Hence Jamie's nightmares. And the mission here, according to Raven, is that the Time Lords have observed that the Doctor works better with a partner, so they decided to engineer this scenario where he meets Jamie again. Across the set, I should say too, Michael Troughton and Fraser Hines are spectacular. Michael Troughton has really gotten to the groove of playing the Second Doctor. He really nails the mannerisms. In the past, while I've enjoyed the Second Doctor audios, it always felt like something was missing. Not to say anything against Fraser Hines or any of the narrators of the audiobooks, but it's just so much of the Second Doctor was Patrick Troughton, It was his physicality. It was these little nods and touches he put in, probably improvised. And it feels like in recreations of the Second Doctor, it always felt like something was missing. And it's really starting to feel like Michael Troughton is really starting to inject life into the Second Doctor. That energy, that spark that was missing from previous portrayals of the Second Doctor. He has all these little mannerisms that I think he just nails and understands. It also helps that he has known Fraser because of his working relationship with Patrick Troughton, Michael has known Fraser Hines since he was a child, and that is something else I want to say. Like Tim Treloar and Katie Manning doing the Third Doctor and Joe for the Third Doctor Adventures, Michael Troughton and Fraser Hines wonderfully, wonderfully recreate not only the characters, but the dynamic and the chemistry that Patrick Troughton and Fraser Hines had on TV. It's something amazing to behold, especially in the later two stories after the Doctor and Jamie meet up properly. Jamie, though, hands down, is Fraser Hines' story. Fraser has to do a lot of stuff. He has to play this modern day kind of sick Jamie with these horrible memories. He has to play Dream Jamie, where he's dreaming of these adventures with the Doctor. He has to do flashbacks, and he basically has to run an entire gamut of times and ranges and emotions that he all does really well. This story belongs to Fraser Hines. And then, like I said, that also gives us room in the later two stories for Michael Troughton and Fraser Hines to play off each other. I'm going to go into the other two stories really quick too, because I am speaking in broad strokes about the entire set as a whole. So the Green Man is a Doctor Who Does X kind of story. I've talked a little bit about these in the past. A Doctor Who Does X kind of story is basically Doctor Who evoking something specific, a very particular kind of story. And across the series, we've had several of these, like the Space Pirates is Doctor Who Does Star Trek, or the Seeds of Doom is Doctor Who Does The Thing, or The Ark in Space is Doctor Who Does Alien. Even into the modern day, like we've had The Woman Who Fell to Earth, which is Doctor Who Does Predator. And even in Big Finish 2, just as an example, we had Winter for the Adept, which is Doctor Who Does The Shining. So in that tradition, the Green Man is Doctor Who Does Rear Window. Raven sends the Doctor and Jamie to investigate a mysterious hospital to retrieve a Time Lord agent where patients are disappearing. And to help with the disguise, the Doctor has been infected with a disease. Because Raven doesn't do anything by halves. So, essentially the Doctor is James Stewart, crippled, stuck in a wheelchair, spying on things happening in this hospital, while Jamie is Grace Kelly, essentially. He's doing what the Doctor needs him to do that he can't do on his own. The Green Man is probably my favorite story in this set. If I were to rank them, it's really tough, but I would say it's The Shroud, Jamie, and then the Green Man. The Green Man is clearly my favorite, but The Shroud and Jamie are such strong stories that it's really hard to decide which one is better. I've been going back and forth on that. There is a really... Sorry. There is a really good twist in The Green Man 2. I don't want to say what it is. All I'll say is it ties into a Tom Baker story. But it's also a farce. So you have... And really, the chemistry between Michael Troughton and Fraser Hines is the star of The Green Man. So it's really about their dynamic. Now that Jamie's back, the Doctor and Jamie are just glad to be traveling together, and they're trying to make the best they can out of a bad situation. And then that leads us to The Shroud. The Shroud is not a bad story. It is very disappointing. Once again, the Doctor and Jamie are dropped off in the middle of a location with no knowledge of what their mission actually is until they need to know. And they are dropped off in total darkness. They cannot see anything, not even their hand moving in front of their own face. And the disappointing aspect of this story is that once that premise gets set up, you'd expect they're going to do something really fun with the audio. Like, they're going to really lean into audio gimmicks and stuff, like something like early Big Finish would have done. Early and experimental. And it doesn't. Like, as soon as they lose their sight and they meet the supporting cast, they come up with a workaround to get their sight restored. In that aspect, it's disappointing, but otherwise, The Shroud is another really strong story. As slowly as the layers get peeled away and the Doctor's mission, what he's doing here, gets revealed. And then also, how the Doctor decides to solve it, it all leads up to a really great cliffhanger that kind of drastically alters the course of the Second Doctor adventures, possibly. But, it leaves you on the edge of your seat wondering what's going to happen. There was another thing I was going to say, too. Oh, yeah. So, as I was saying, the performances between Michael Troughton and Fraser Hines are really strong here. We also get a really strong performance in all three stories from Emma Noakes as Raven. In Beyond War Games, Raven was introduced as an operative of the Time Lord's Celestial Intervention Agency, CIA, and essentially, she is the Doctor's handler. She's the one who gets the missions and dispatches the Doctor to do them. So in the first set, Raven was just kind of this ominous, mysterious entity, almost an antagonist in a lot of ways. I would argue she is the antagonist. But whereas in that first set, Emma Noakes played it really well. She just kind of whispered ominous dialogue. Here, we get a lot more with Raven. Like in Jamie, in the build-up to the Doctor reuniting with Jamie, Raven sort of plays the role as the Doctor's companion. And her interacting with humans and experiencing human things is a lot of fun. And we also kind of see a more human side to her as well. Like she experiences fear at one point, or she has a sense of humor. And, this expansion of her character plays across all three stories, and it's done really well. It makes Raven a fascinating character that I do hope we get to see more of in the future with the Second Doctor Adventures range. And the last note I'll end on is the pacing. All these stories are wonderfully tightly paced. They are 3 one-hour stories, and they're done as 2-part serials. I know there's been a lot of complaints about, especially the classic Doctors going forward in this type of format, but here I think it works. Actually, let me backtrack a bit. I know that in the fandom, with the classic Doctors, there's been a lot of critique/complaints about Big Finish doing this since they've pivoted to the box set format, not doing the full 2-hour, 4-part serialized story. I don't know about my thoughts on that as the whole, but I will say here, at least, it really works. The stories are very tightly done. Nothing feels out of place. It doesn't feel like they need to be longer or that they should have been longer, like there was a lot going on that writers were trying to juggle with. And it doesn't feel like they need to be shorter. It feels like the writers chosen for this set figured out how to balance everything going on perfectly. The Second Doctor Adventures, James Robert McCrimmon, is a strong continuation of the Second Doctor Adventures series. And I honestly recommend it. Especially if you're keen on Season 6B content, which this series, I will say too, does a little better. I feel like Beyond War Games, again, was a little traditional in terms of formatting a Second Doctor adventure. I feel like here, they're a little bit... This set did a little bit better at breaking away from the conventions of the Second Doctor era and branching out more. But it's not quite there yet. It's still getting there. Still, it's a wonderfully fun set with great performances and strong stories, and I recommend it. But those are just my thoughts on the Second Doctor Adventures. Have you heard James Robert McCrimmon yet? What are yours? Start a conversation in the comments below, and remember to like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.